All right. What's up, guys? It's Ricky. And today we want to get straight into the study that we want to do. So, you remember that we said that we're going to be doing the study of the 613 laws. And so I thought it would be very interesting if we can go on and do that and show that, like last week when we were talking about the subject of, why do we need to be reminded of the laws? There was a subject that was brought up that we need to be reminded or we needed to remember. Now, I mentioned why they needed to be reminded, those in the Old Testament, being that their hearts were hardened and the Holy Spirit was not yet given, right? And so, because of that, there was a hindrance, there was a wall, because the hearts that were receiving this word or the laws was as stones, right? But then the Bible has a prophecy that there will come a time when the laws will be written on 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 hearts of flesh, right? And so we're still on that study. On this particular one, I wanna go through how many. How many is it? Is it 42? So we'll go through 42 modern laws straight from the Bible, like just straight out from the Bible. And we're gonna just kind of like look at some of those points to kind of come back and say, this show you why we don't need to be reminded of the law. Because the law, this becomes, there's aspects of this law that is a part of common law, which creates the barrier by which men will be able to make a judgment on right and wrong. Do not steal, do not kill, all these things cannot written in things. I don't need this to be reminded to me. Now, last 2 weeks back, 2 weeks, is it 3 weeks back, we made the stream where we spoke about the Havdalah, and then Havdalah being a ritual that was done at the ending of the Shabbat, reminder or in hope. In the Havdalah, there was this hope that of a time when we'll come into Shabbat being an everyday thing, like where we rested, where we completely rested. And that's the same thing we said about what the intention of Sabbath in the Old Testament was for the new, being that God wanted us to come into relationship with Messiah. So it's quite an interesting one, that we are on this particular study. I was doing the study a little bit earlier on with Tamara. Very interesting. And then next week, I think we'll then go into another aspect of the 613 laws. So y'all remember in the beginning of the year, we said, hey, there's this thing here, 630. Let's go and look at them and look at what does that mean for the believer. So we're not just looking at half, quarter, just here. We're not looking at 10 commandments. We're looking at 600. So when I lead 10 commandments, y'all gotta chill, man. We are talking about 600, all 600. We don't want to take the ones that you want to pick for us. We want to take all of them and say, what do these look like? And show why at the end of the day it brings us to Messiah. You see, as long as you are still telling us about the 600 or the 10, if you don't want to talk about the 600 and you just want to talk about the 10, love your mother and father, those ones are also written within human law, in common law, so much that even in every culture, it's kind of standard, And so, what's the thing that's different about you? Ooh, that's a painful one, isn't it? What's different about you if you're telling us something that's part of common law? It is common law now, in this day and age, to love and respect your mother and father, and your days will be lengthened. We know that. I'm from a village where there was a young man who started doing that a few years back, and he started being incredibly hostile towards his mother. And his mother was the only one who was left with. And in this hostility towards his parent or towards his mother, it actually caused his mother illness to a point where his mother passed away. When his mother passed away, he got insurance money. He destroyed himself. I once spoke about meeting him. I once met him in Joburg selling perfumes. This is someone who had gotten hundreds of thousands from insurance money. And in that destructive character he had, where he had become the boss in the village, all of a sudden that pen turned back and it bit him. So it's written in common law that. So what's your role? If all it is to tell me what is part of common law. Do not steal. That's common law. And so this is why we have Messiah. Messiah is what we preach, not the law. We preach the Messiah because that's the anchor of this whole message. That was to lead towards Messiah, because now I have that written in my conscience. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do. I have it written in my conscience. So now it's do this. You see, while we are telling people don't, there is the do's that we are not saying. But again, as I stated, that's the aspect of what we call life of a believer, according to a biblical thing. I still mention that we are still going to go back and talk about the crowns. And so it's important we start here. It's important we track right here where it actually gives us these particular points. All right. So I'm going to go through. There is a lot. Okay. I mean, like there's 42 that I found in less than 5 chapters. 42 that I found in less than 5 chapters. So, let I want to just write this out here. All right. So that's our subject. So this will just be picky. This will just pick out of some of those laws in the Old Testament, laws of the 613, not just the 10 that you like, and then show it's clear written, even in our common law, even in every single country's laws. So what is the difference? What are you bringing? We bring Jesus, my friend. We're not here peddling laws. We are here to peddle Jesus. That's our message. Right. And so this is going to be quite an interesting study indeed. You can say that again. All right. Our leaderships are here. Then he says leadershiping. The Bible thing is still on. Do you mean for the Facebook? Yes, that's still on. That's for Facebook, not YouTube. And I think it says, hello, family. Naledi house. Naledi, how are you doing? Wonderful. And so, yeah, right. So I think this is important because I think in general, people we don't think about it long enough, right? And so it's not that we are completely ignorant. It's just that we've just never really thought about it. We've never really thought about what are the 600. Now I'm gonna copy this, but please, I need it to be very clear. I don't need us to start debating this laws or start debating something else. Okay. Just so that we are very clear. So if you want to call in to debate this, you're gonna drive us into a different subject which we are not having. I don't want to have that debate thingy. There are days when we can do that. Right now, this is kind of a study session, and so please let's do that. Ne? Order. Every household must have order, and so I'm just saying that ahead of time because sometimes people might want to debate it. So maybe we can debate it at the end of the session. Allow me to do thingy. I do have a lot to go through here. I mean, we only have 1 hour, 30 minutes, and we have 40 ones to go through. So allow us others to also say. So there's a call-in link, but let's not linger in debates of instead of actually sharpening iron. Right. So the first places that I want us to go into to making a reference for thingy. So remember, we are going to go through 40 of this, 42 of them. Right. For example, law number 1 that actually is depicted in the Bible, and it's actually something that we do take on in our society. Let me copy this out and give you the Bible quotation. Okay, I'm going to change this one into that, and let's have that. So this is first law number 1. I will actually premise this as law number 1. Okay, so I think I'm gonna just display them. I want to display them so that you can see them. So this is law number 1, and this is the exact chapter point where you actually see it. And so prohibition against murder. And so you can see it's Exodus chapter number 20, right? So Exodus chapter number 20, and I'm gonna open that right now. 2013. Right, let me share the screen again. Share the window. Right, so chapter 20, verse number 13. And what does 13 say? I'm going to have to get in here so that you can see it a little bit more clear. All right, 13. Very straightforward. Value for life, right there. That is written in our modern day law. Okay, if you were to do anything within the ballpark of this, the judgment will be meted out to you very quickly. Now, remember, we're talking about the laws of the country, the laws that actually govern the countries. This is particularly written into there. And so that's an example of first law. And so if you actually see it there, it says it. So now someone might actually want to quote the other parts in there, because if you actually go back into that chapter, and let me open it up again. If you actually do look into it, it does have like a list of others, like, remember the Shabbat day, 6 days you labor, and so forth. And then it goes on, honor thy father and mother. So this is it's not in the country's law, but it is part of moral law, because our cultures actually have this. In every culture, this is the norm. It's not something new. This is why I say you create a mistake by focusing in on these things, because the common law already says this. We already know this. We don't preach laws, we preach Christ and him crucified. Even the Bible tells you that. We preach Christ and him crucified. And so that we are clear here. So somebody might feel like, Rick is just attacking my church. No, I'm not attacking your church. Your church needs to preach the gospel straight out. All these things are focusing on things that we like and whatever we want to prefer and whatnot. When I came unto you, brothers, I did not come unto you with eloquency or wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony of God. This is what it is about, okay? And then he says, for I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. This is the message. This is it. This is the message. He didn't preach the law. He was not there preaching the law. So when we told Pilento preacher, we are not preachers of the law. We are preachers of Christ, the Messiah. We must be very clear about that. So that's law number 1. That is thingy. So just so for a reference point, for someone who might be saying, Ricky, when you say we preach Christ and him crucified, yes, that's the center of the message. Don't create your own. Don't be all over the place. Simple. Christ and him crucified. So law number 1 that is depicted in the law, okay? The other ones, as I stated, as I showed, love your mother, your father, that's all common law. That's what we know in our cultures and stuff. Do not commit. Yeah, it's a community. That's common law. In our society, we have that. If I saw you, as a matter of fact, in your pimpa, hi, chief, your wife is busy. She's busy outside the house. Yeah, this is common law. Do not bear false witness against your thing. And now this one here actually goes back into it was this particular one is quite an interesting one, because this one you find it echoed even in the new, and you also find it echoed towards Christ, and you find it echoed what is this? When it says that brother will turn against brother, mother against mother, that's it there. False witness. This one is echoed through multiple covenants. And so there are laws that were spoken of, but they are very specific to the covenant of Moses. But then there are laws like this here, which actually echo through the different covenants. So remember, you go from Noah, Abrahamic, Davidic, and then all the way to Christ, right? And so through all of those covenants, Christ's covenant, a lot of these laws, some of these laws, they are echoed in other aspects. So bearing false witness as a whole appears in many things. And then also on top of that, bearing false witness is actually part of our general law, like countries' laws. But we're going to go into that. Actually, it does actually appear in the 3042 that I'm going to talk about. And so if you gave a false witness, or even if you gave false information to the police, you can be arrested. False identity of or withholding a police officer from doing his investigation. You can be arrested for that. Okay, so these laws, they are actually not just written in common law, but some of them are written actually in the country's laws. So what are you preaching different? What's different about you? Sorry. Sorry, Vandla. So today, I just want us to realize, what is it that, why do we say your focus is Jesus? Yeah, we are not being dodgy that we don't want to know. These things are already emphasized. There's nothing different about your church when your church just preaches the law. You're no different. The country does that already. Yeah, it's echoed in your ear. It's so much that you actually obey it without thinking. So that's number one. Law number two, okay? Law number two comes from, this is quite an interesting one. It comes from Exodus as well. And this one actually echoes all the way through corruption and what you can, you name it, okay? You can name it. So law number two, write it over there. Number two, and save and display. Law number two, it's theft, right? The law of theft, it's not just common law, now meaning relationship wise. If you stole from me, I might not want you next to me. And so it's very clear in that there that it is common law in the sense. But not only is it common law, it is part of our general law, like in the country. Countries have, it's part of the country's laws, basically. Authorities put that there. If you stole from me, you stole from me, which means you broke fellowship with a brother, but I can take that then, go and report it to the bigger aspect of that law, which is now thingy, which can actually take you to be jailed and held accountable for thingy. And even the idea of accountability also, it does come in as on the other party, on the other laws as well. And so if you're talking about that as thingy, that's not that one. I don't even need to go on thingy. But chapter number 20 actually does have that. Exodus chapter number 20, and you can go down to verse number 15. And it is right there. This is common law. This is common law. So you'll ask yourself, why does the Seventh-day Adventist then focus itself on this one? It focuses on this one because there is no country law that will make this a law. because this was about something else. The law about not laboring on the seventh day was actually about salvation. It is a message towards salvation. It echoes towards salvation. The issue was to be reminded that there is a day when Messiah comes, and he is our rest. He becomes our rest, as the Havdalah thingy that we mentioned speaks of. Now, let's go on to law number 3. So that we show all 40, well, don't worry, we'll go through all of them, and you will see how all 40 actually are in agreement to the fact that the message of the church is a different message. The message of the church, it's supposed to be a certain type of a message. Jesus told us what we are supposed to preach. Okay, you don't create your own. Message number 3, law number 3 depicted is the law against coveting. Yeah. Because that creates problems. That creates problems. Now, this one, it's like there is a way that it is actually seen as jealousy, part of common law. The law of coveting, it's part of common law. It might not be enforced at the level of thing, but if you actually think about it, when you go, if you were in a court system, or if there was a case that's going on, when they're investigating a case, they will look for what they would call motive. And motive goes into these areas of coveting. So let's say, for instance, a husband kills his wife, but because he's coveting after another person's wife, or he kills another person. You see those type of cases, they call them crimes of passion and stuff. Comes from what? Covetousness. So it creates a fabric of our law system by which we determine the guilt or innocence of a person by trying to tell where their motives that we think. So this type of thing, it's actually written within our common law. Okay, if you went into chapter number 2017, and it is over there, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's thing, because this is what creates theft as well. Okay, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. That creates adultery, fornications, and all them type of things. Nor main slave, nor his maid slave, nor his ox, or this will create thieves, corrupt politician. Yeah, they go call up their friends in politics, in higher ups, so that they can possess, so that they can take your property away. Guess how they do that? Because of this particular aspect of common law that actually leads for us to understanding things. So there is a way in which you might not be enforced as in such, but there is a way in which we are using that particular aspect of law. All right. So that is law number 3 that you can actually see in our thingy. Now, another one that is actually part of our thing, it's part of common law. This one is also part of common law, though it might not be enforced in the sense that you will not be arrested for it. But in general, it will put people not to trust you, basically. Law number 4, adultery, right? Because in a way, it brings mistrust in relationships, but also it builds resentment in communities. So it's part of common law. By common law, remember, we mean doing right by your neighbor and your so forth. You understand? And so this is part of common law. It is part of common law, this particular aspect of it. So if you went in, that's it. That's at verse number 14, right? That's verse 14. And that's it right there. So this is not written in the law up there, but it is written. And also on that aspect of when they do criminal investigations and maybe someone was killed or something, this is something that they will also use to determine whether there were motives for the crime, and this can be one of them. So it's written. So going around saying do not commit adultery as a law from God, it makes your argument very weak, because it is common law. We all know not to do that. Even a person who's not a believer, there are people that lose their jobs because they committed funny behaviors, because they were being dodgy, man. Slept with a co-worker, fired. You are busy doing funnies. You are sending co-workers strange messages. Fired. Out. You are out of the company. They get rid of you. Why? It's part of common law. We expect you to behave. And funny enough, it's funny that they don't realize that these laws are literally from the Bible. These particular things that we use to determine the conduct in our workplaces, these are all from the Bible. Khadija says, good evening. Leadership. Good evening, leaders. Good evening. Our Susan says, good evening, family as well. And so these are part of common law, meaning we all have it written in our society. We literally abide by it. Okay, we abide by it. And so if you were thinking it might not be enforced at thingy, but also remember, look at this one. Actually, look at this one. In divorce court, if someone presented your infidelity or adulterous behavior, it can actually lead for them having a favored judgment from the judge. So why does that become? You see, the message of the church is Christ, not the law. Not the law. It's not the law, it's Christ. Christ is the center of the church's message. And you can see why, because in divorce court, if you are the one who's thinking, you can be someone can use that to say, no, this person is not responsible, so they shouldn't have my kids. And boom, you lose custody of the children because you are an irresponsible person as an adult. You are not maturing. We expect you. It's part of common law. It's part of common law. You don't need to go, are you committing adultery, brother? We don't need to go there and ask. It's shunned at. As a matter of fact, if your wife or your life partner knew that your friend was doing it, they will tell you to stop hanging around with them. You know what I mean? They will stop you. They say, no, that person is a bad influence. Why? Because we know we do not want these traces influencing our partners. So it's part of common law, right? Look at how it's written there. And we've been just looking at it, and we didn't really even realize that all these laws, they are all written within our everyday life. Okay? That's why that's not the message. That's not the why? Because right now, that's written in our society. This is how we behave. We've told each other this is how we behave. Law number 5. Law number 5, that is actually part of the 600, not just the 10 laws that they like. Part of the 613 laws, which is written within our fabric of our communities. Okay? That's law number 5. Wait, did I write this one twice? Coveting. Wait, I wrote that one twice. Did I write it twice? Yeah, I must have written it twice. So there's murder, there's murder, covetousness, adultery, and okay, let me skip over to number 6 because I've talked about this one. So law number 6, yeah, I did talk about this one. Law number 6, law number 6 is quite a very interesting one, guys. I don't want to lie to you. It's quite, I think we know it, but we don't think of it as a law that God gave. Okay. Yeah. So law number 5, I spoke about it, right? So law number 6, we're going through them. Okay, we're going through them and we're just showing. Law number 6, restitution of theft. You see it when Zacchaeus had been stealing for all this time, and then finally at the end, whatever gains he had made, he was able to give it back. Restitution towards thingy, towards your theft. Now, how is this one written in the fabrics of our? It's not just common law, it's also part of the general law, the country's laws and stuff like that. If you steal something, they want you to return it. They expect you to pay it back. But even if you don't have it, they will have some form of getting you to pay back. It's either you are arrested, you stay away. So why? We are now going to dictate how you conduct your life, because since you cannot conduct yourself in order, so we are going to have you pay back society, basically. You know, in America, they have this thing called community service. I don't know if it's there in the country. I've been to jail in our country, but I know that in America they have community service, so you can be sentenced to community service doing restitution. So showing that you are part, show yourself as part of our community, right? And so that appears in Exodus chapter number 22. That's the reference right there from verse 1. And so let's go Exodus chapter number 22. And it's an interesting study, I'm telling you, because I think also another thing we noticed when we were studying these things with Tamara, we noticed it's everything. It's like literally all the laws that you see in our thinking. So in our society today, right? So let's go to them. What are they? So remember, it says from verse 1 up until verse number 4. It says, if a man shall steal an ox or a sheep, kill it and sell it, no longer has it. Okay? He shall restore 5 oxen for an ox. Now that's even worse, actually. It's not just saying you restore that particular one that you think. You needed to show that you are reformed, or you are converted, or you have a changed of. You were supposed to even restore and give interest 5 times of thingy. And then you go further. If a thief be found breaking in and be smitten and he dies, there shall be no blood shed for him. And then it goes on to kind of explain this part here. It actually comes back to this. I'm going to come back to this one, but on a different verse. There are aspects which actually talk about the law of self-defense. Yeah, in these very same verses. Okay, it goes in deep. Okay, we are only at number 6. These laws go pretty much in deep. They are written in our society. These things are written in our. You don't need to go back and say, brother, you need to pay back. No, like right now, if you owe me small monies, there is what we know as small court claims. So if you owe me 5,000, I can take you to small court claims. They might not arrest you, but they will find a way to bill you. If you were taken for criminal injury, what, you know, that one where someone says they suffered loss because of you, what, right? And so if they took you to court for that, and then you were found guilty, they might even request, let them pay back this certain amount. Restitution. It's written in our laws. So what's the different thing? So you're going to come preach that? Don't choose the 10 that fit your thing. Choose all of them. So then you will see the full context. That's why they don't read all of them. They read the 10, because out of the 10, they can pick out that one, number 4, which you will not find in force. Which tells you are misplaced by salvation standards. What I want us to see here, I want us to see that Adam Brown says, interesting, watching from the UK, Downco leadership. What I want us to see is that there is a reason why we are given one message. You can't come here be telling us about, hey, must come to church on Shabbat and what. The Bible says if one esteems that day, he must keep that day. So one does as he is convicted. They don't like that verse. When they tell you to come, they do not like that verse. So why is it that these people are showing themselves irrelevant to the message of the gospel? It's because they do not understand what it means for them to be still trying to preach the law in this day and age. It means you are not preaching Jesus. Jesus is the center of our message. These things, you don't need to preach this. Hey, sorry, I didn't set out my things properly here. I have a speaker next to me. You don't need to preach this. This is literally written in human fabric. Like, it's in the society. It's like common that if you were to steal, we're going to take you to small court claims, and then they will tell you how much you must pay back. As a matter of fact, if you waste my time in court, I can counter sue you, and then you end up paying for legal fees of which you might have cost me, and also the losses that I suffered. Restitution. That's the law of restitution, of theft. You wasted my time. You stole time from. It's written in the fabric of our society. You can't preach that. Why do they stick to that one? Because that one they can get away with. No salvation there. I want us to be very confident when we say this is not the message that the church is given. Our message is Christ and Him crucified. Be very clear about it. Don't even shake. Don't even shake your. Okay? Don't even. No. You have a right to tell them that they are misplaced. They are completely misplaced. They are preaching the wrong message. They are emphasizing on a message that they have not been given. Christ didn't give you that message, brother. Our message is Christ and Him crucified. Which one are you preaching? Law number 7, which is emphasized. This one is quite an interesting one. This one is quite an interesting one, because for the people in the US, they are starting to suffer from this one. Because in the US, there's this new laws where you can't even kick out people who enter into your property because they might not have anywhere to go. Like, it doesn't make sense. But anyways, law number 7 comes from Exodus 22, verse number 5 up until 15, which tells you of your right to property rights. You have the right to your property, to what you own, and the protection of that property. So now this tells you, now unfortunately, in a lot of countries, protection of property, okay? Like, let's say, for instance, if you were to go and you burn someone's house, we have a law for arson, right? Burning things that are not yours. If you went into a building, if you went into ShopRite and you just took their food and you put it down, you throw it on the ground, right? What do they call it? Hi man, I'm forgetting. There's a law for it. What do they call it? What do they call it? If you go into, it's destruction of property, but there's a name that they give it. I forgot. Maybe someone will remember. Type it down in the comment section. And so there is a name for that. Disorderly. There is also disorderly conduct, but not disorderly conduct. Destruction of property, man. There's a name for it. I'm forgetting what it's called. And so this protects my rights over what I own. So if I own something, you can be arrested for ruining the thing that I own. It's protected by our common law. Vandalism, yes, leadership. Thank you, leadership. I'm trying to remember this word. What is this word? Thank you, leadership. I highly appreciate it. So that part of the law of the 613 laws, it's covered within our moral fabric. Even if I saw you destroying a neighbor's fence, you are there, back in the village when we were kids. the low parts of the fence, you cut, so that you can build your car with wire cars and vandalism. They have a right of protection of their property. And so it is covered there. Now, that is a bit of a lengthy one right there. Chapter 22, 5 to 15. 22, 5 to 15. 5 to 15. It's a bit of a lengthy one. I won't be able to read the entire thing. Okay. And then it says, if a man shall cause a field or a vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field of the best of his own field. Now notice, you go there, you get someone's crops to be eaten by your animals. Okay, even in the village, they enforce this one. In the village, if you are from the village, you'll know what I mean. But then it's a coroni. We call it coroni, like the king's yard, basically, where they do the meetings and stuff, and say, hey, so and so's thingy came and ate, and then he will be asked to restitute whatever thingy, which applies also to the previous one, and shall make he shall make restitution of thingy. So it actually does thingy, but then also you will see there, so restitution is addressed, and also the aspect of protection of the property there. Okay, and then it goes on to speak. 7. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor's money and stuff to keep. Okay, if I give you something, please hold this thing for me, hold my phone, and it be stolen of the man's house. If the thief be found, let him double pay double back. It's written in the fabric of our society. Bazalani, this stuff is written. That's why I wanted us to talk about it, because I thought it was quite an interesting one that people just don't realize. These things are there. We have these rules in our society. If you are part of village gang, you know what I mean. Your cows come and eat the crops at my yard. You're going to pay. Okay. And so the verse literally goes on to actually describe that in detail, right? That's law number 7 that is actually addressed within the fabric of our society today. Now we're going to go on to law number 8. That one is very self-explanatory, but it's very interesting that the Bible gets into that. Okay. And remember, these things, people will think, that's why you might have heard this quotation that our law actually is the way it is because of the Bible. Exactly. They got these morals from the Bible, and then they want to come here and deny it. These were written there. They must put some respect in the Bible's name. Stop disrespecting our book. Law number 8. Protection of vulnerable groups. So racism, what do you call this other one? Xenophobia. This thing about what do you call it? Albinos. We're not talking about political vulnerable groups. We're talking about real things that we know our society suffers from. Albinos, you'll find them targeted and stuff like that. Disabled people, you'll find them targeted and stuff like that. What's another one? Even the other one, I feel like it's more of a common law thing and stuff like that. But then, not only is it a common law thing, these are actually laws that are actually applied all the way up to the top, all the way to, not just even in the country, but also they are international laws. So some of the laws that I was reading earlier on, these might be just individual country laws. We know them individual, but this one, vulnerable groups, this one is actually international laws. Like, for example, I'll give you one that you might not be thinking of. Let me give you one simple one. You are not thinking about it. I bet you now. If you are thinking about this one, hi. Umuntu onjani? Okay. Now I want to show you one which is actually a classic of how our laws actually embedded into what the Bible actually says. This one here. This is international law. Disability parking. There is no parking. You cannot by disability parking, Barcelona. I mean, there was a guy who came to South Africa. I remember was talking to one brother who explained there was a guy. Remember the bike lane in South Africa? We did not have bike lane. There was a European guy who came here during the 2010s. I think he was cycling, and then he put it forward. And actually, I don't know if he was compensated or what. They ended up starting to build bike lanes on the side. It's not everywhere because we just don't. That's not a thing. We are not a developed nation like that. Or we have bike lanes. What's that? Ride where others are riding, my friend. And so, but you remember when Gautrain then came up, they then started building some of these extra lanes inside. So now, if you look at our road, they keep cutting because they are now trying to install these aspects of things. So there it is. If you go into like places where there's stairs, they even have a ramp. They have a ramp so that people will find it. So people with wheelchairs will find it easier to come inside. Bike lanes, the parking lots will have an extra spot so that people with disability can be able to remove their loved ones without cars hindering them or anything like that. This is literally taken from the Bible. So if you are preaching that, we're not talking about the other ones, not the other groups thingy and what. Okay? Racism, yes, totally against. The Bible speaks against things like that. Okay? And also, I've actually not even that. Let's just get this clear. The Bible doesn't talk about racism within that tone because racism is a very new thing. Okay, it's over the last couple of 100 years that racism was a thing. Back then, there used to be what do you call it? Ethnic. It was more about countries. It was more about where you came from. Okay, the issue of race would be from this one is from that part of the world. There is from that part of the community. Like, can anything come out of Nazareth? That type of a thing. That's the kind of xenophobia you see in the Bible, not the one we have nowadays, where a person from South Africa feels like he owns South Africa. That one. You are completely far from God. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about protection of borders. That's a very important one. Okay. Yes. That's a very different one. You are supposed to have protection of borders. Okay. Not just everybody should be able to come in. And so such standards, yes, you must have. Okay. And stuff like that. And so if you thought I was talking about that, no. I'm talking about these things where people segregate over subjects like that. Hey, it's what it's Zimbabwe. You are still in the childish area, my brother. We are not addressing your kind and all those kind of stuff. Greetings, kingdom greetings. Danko leadership. Welcome. And so these things, they're addressed. Now, that's chapter 21. That's verse 21. What is that? 21 to 27. Let's edit there. Let's scroll there to that verse 21, and let's see if we can fit. And thou shalt not neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. And so that right there also highlights that the law was particularly given to Israel for a reason. It was for them. Because when did you come out of Egypt? Can you explain? If you want to preach it to us, Anker. Yeah. When did you come out of Egypt? Okay. And he shall not afflict any widow, the fatherless. There you go. Okay. It addresses those other aspects that I was talking about. Okay. And then if thou afflict them in any wise, okay, they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. Okay, and you will vex over you. You do not want that kind of vexation. You don't want that kind of vexation. So this is written within international law. So what are you preaching? What are you preaching? This is part of the thingy. The Bible tells you. You can hear how many of them. Thou shalt not oppress this one. Don't oppress the fatherless. Don't oppress the thingy. Don't. These are laws. What do you think these are? Okay. So law number 8 is very specific towards that. Okay. Now we'll go on here to the next one. This is that was by the way, this one you can quote the verses and then go read it further a little bit more so you can see the other groups and stuff like that. But it's very clear with all these things. Okay, now this is here. This one, number 9. Number 9, we might not count it as something that we are thinking, but guess what? There are actually laws that are, this one is actually part of international law. This is not just general law. This is not just a country's laws. This is international law. The treatment of, you understand, slaves. We don't have in this modern day, not in any capacity. We don't have. We do have it within a legal. We do have, by the standard of the Old Testament, we do have slaves. Okay, I'm not talking about these people that are against 9 to 5 and what that want to change the system. They don't like capitalism. No. We're not talking about that. Okay, no. I want you to understand what I mean. We do have slaves within the context of what the Bible would have had in this modern age. And that was particularly capital slaves. These were people that did not have means. And so one will give himself to working for someone credit-wise, not working as in everyday work. No. Okay, so those ones who are talking about that, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a place where you got credit to cover certain things, and then you give your years to work without pay. Kind of like the situation where the other guy, he went and he worked for 7 years. So one gives himself. And so that's a context of a lot of topics of slavery in the Old Testament. It's voluntary or capital slave, you might call it that. It's not this one, the way you bondage, what. It's that one. There's a lot of that. You'll hear it even in the book of Esther and so forth and all that. You'll hear about that one. And so there was a treatment that one should have had. That's why the Bible even had the year of Jubilee. The year of Jubilee was people that were capital slaves would be freed. Your time to serve was done. 7 years was finished, done. You don't owe anybody nothing after that, okay? And so the Bible talks about that. They will never talk about that part. There was a treatment because there was a way that one could give himself without pay and he would be extended a credit. Okay? Right. So I wanted to just highlight that. You can see it there. Now let's move a little bit more. This one is very common. This one you will definitely know. This one you will definitely know. This is number 10, and number 10 comes from Exodus 21. Okay, number 10 comes from Exodus 21. Just look at how all these laws are literally written in our constitution, international law, you name it. Restitution for injury. Exodus chapter number 21. Verse number 18 up until 36. You can go down, read it. I see that me reading, sometimes I end up taking a little bit more time. I'm going to quote them, then we move. This one, if a person got injured at work, what happens nowadays? Yeah, insurance must come in. And then as a matter of fact, you can be compensated for the amount of work that you should have been able to do. As a matter of fact, if you... restitution for injury, that's why we have what do you call that thing? Road accident fund. Literally taken from the Bible. So you can't go preaching that. The law as a whole, as you can see, how many have we noted here? Okay, how many have we noted? So notice here with this one, road accident fund literally addresses this. Road accident fund is where we are literally saying someone has been injured. We're going to compensate them because there was a period they were not able to work. Okay, it's literally written within the fabric of our thing. And so in our modern day, as a matter of fact, you can actually, all right, I have this issue with this thing. I don't know why it keeps sending me. Okay, no, it's fine. All right, it just keeps sending me strange notifications. All right. And so that one is a very common one. We all know that one. Okay, that's where they show I blew it. That's where I blew it actually because of this law right here. Hey, people are there busy. They get paid money. Not that you did anything, no, but we are suspecting. We suspect that you might not be available, and so we might not be able to work, and so we're going to compensate for thingy. Now, there's another one. This one, it's actually, if our banks had this one, oh, the banks wouldn't like this one. Law number 11. Oh my goodness. And so law number 11, guys, the banks would not like this one. The banks would not like this one. Protection of property. Whether now this particular law actually covers loss of property and damage. Okay, and so and also it covers the idea of echoing the idea of the principles of property ownership or property law type of a thing. And so this one the banks wouldn't like, because they want clause that they can put under that put it that they can be able to. So we already have this written in our thingy. Okay, we are showing that all these other laws that you thingy that people are preaching, or they don't want to preach, and they preach half of the law. That's how they do. They preach the ones that they like. Okay, we're just showing that these laws are actually covered. Our message is supposed to be different. Our message is Christ. Law number 12, without feathers. Law number 12 is what? It's against sorcery, witchcraft. Now, this one, it's common law, but it is not general law, nor is it international. You can bewitch all you want. They don't care about that one. But within our communities, you'll be extremely shunned if you are suspected of flying activities. When you are busy bowing. Hi guys. I enjoy what I do too much. If you are busy bowing yourself, Boeing. Someone is asking what is Boeing. Boeing is the name of the company that makes flights. You are blowing yourself. Yeah. So, but in our communities, we have restrictions for this. Okay. Now, if you go extend it to villages, they actually will ban you from villages if you have this behavior, which is why, which is why you have Abosako, the political party that you used to see me wearing a t-shirt of sometimes. That's why Sako wants to do that, so that they can have take this particular aspects of ignorance within our constitution, which the communities locally know about, to say let them decide on that, because you clearly are ignorant of it. And so that's what they want to also push out for on that, because it's something we know in our community, but then them, because so because them also they are busy flying there. Because remember, this comes all the way from the French period. I don't know if we really want to talk about that, but from the French period, by the time when the Illuminatis and the Freemasonry were still secret organizations, there was a period where they had to transmit documents that actually exposed membership and people that actually held membership to lodges. And the story goes that one of these guys who was holding this document was traveling from one province to another, and he was on a horse and he got struck by lightning. When the police got there, they took this guy's body. They found this document, which was a shocker. So these particular organizations, the Freemasons, the Illuminati and whatnots, they were then exposed. It was the first time they were exposed. Then society started to know about them and stuff like that. And a lot of these people suffered greatly. And so as a result, they went under symbolism. When they brought about symbolism, it was because of that, because they were trying to hide. And nowadays, you were not even allowed to know the names or know who other people, who other members are, in the sense that so that they can keep the community small. So you might know people from your lodge, you don't know people outside. And then Adam Weishaupt, Satanist, the guy was a diabolic. What he then devised was that let the Masons, and that's why I always dismiss this thing of this one is a Freemason, this one is not all of these people are. Those are secret orders. Okay, those are secret orders. You don't just go there walking because when you have influence, you just there. No. So what Adam Weishaupt put out, he was that let the organization's ideals and teachings be publicized under different names. That's when you started having the birth of cults, like mini cults. OTO comes from there, the organization of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, that's why they come out. The Rosicrucians come from there. The Knight Templars come from there. They come from these things so that they can break away from being too nicked. Because when you are too nicked, everybody knows everybody, so everybody can advance. Because remember, the levels in the satanic world was on the basis of people. Isangoma, like a Sangoma, a person who's completely devoted to Satan. Those are the people that would advance this thing. And then those people who advanced in the practice of ritual practice and demon worship would be the people that will rise in ranks. As a matter of fact, when you listen to William Schnurbeling says he rose in the ranks not because he practiced. He says he had spirits that were so esteemed that they would tell him information to speak to certain people. And when he speaks that information, those people would think him as a high-ranking person. They would see him as, oh, okay, he belongs higher. He belongs. And that's how he rose in the ranks to a point where he was a 33rd degree. The guy says there was a period he suffered greatly because his body was dying, because he had risen so far that because he was involved in so much ritual, it was killing his body. And so sorcery now is now public. So this is why our constitutions cannot persecute sorcery. You expect them to persecute how? I was laughing yesterday when that lady was saying, they want to be recognized publicly. There's Ngoma, she was saying she wants to be recognized. I said, which one? You are on TV proclaiming that you are bewitching people. What are you asking for? You understand? And so this one, unfortunately, yes, people are bowing leadership. Good evening, leader. Good evening. And so this particular one, unfortunately, you will not have it because they are too far gone. Sorcery is not, they are too involved in that one. Okay, law number 13. I'm just going to display it for you. Law number 13. It's quite an interesting one because it reminds the previous one. Remember on that one that we spoke about earlier on, where we spoke about widows and thingy. Um, it was groups particularly, like it involved subjects of people like, foreigners, people, slaves, and within that context. And so this one here, we had to note it separately because widows and orphans in particular, okay, apart from them being within the groups, particularly them, okay. And so when people say that the Bible never had human interest and stuff like that, it oppresses women, you don't hear it talking about anyways, let's leave that one. Let's leave it that one. All right. And then you'll remember the number, it actually goes back into number thingy. The reason why I want to highlight this one as number 14 individually is also a show that some of these laws, they actually might echo through one to another. And so the oppression of the stranger or the person who is a foreigner or an outsider, to be particular, this goes to international laws. We don't even need to think. In international laws, you'll be persecuted heavily should you have. As a matter of fact, that's why every country has public relations, because it must be clear how safe are our people in your country. We want to know that. Okay. Now we are going to other aspects of very rigid laws that are very much, you see, if you messed around with these laws, you get in trouble. In today, you'll trend actually. Papa. Law number 15. And so I wanted to echo those ones individually because they are very, even in the Bible, they're mentioned so many times. As a matter of fact, when you divided the tithe, you were supposed to have one. Particularly, there was a portion of what you gave that went to strangers. And then there will be a portion for widows and thingy in the tithe. That one was particularly in the tithe for entertainment of strangers and whatnot and stuff. And so, law number 15, this one, I said, you will get in trouble. You will trend for this one. Okay? Justice and fairness for legal proceedings. That's why we spoke about the fairness of Jesus Christ's trial with Brother Kumbero last time. You'll remember. And so this one here talks about that. Unfortunately, this one is an international, general, and in common law, basically. Okay. If we went to a school and then because you are from a rich family, and then now I'm not from a rich family, and then the principal chose you because when you are from a rich family, and then that will not be looked at well in community in general. But then at the conduct under which the principal is employed under, he can actually get suspended for that. So there are laws for that. Okay. But then also such behavior, this mistreatment goes back into tribalism. We all are clear about that. Common law. We are very clear about that within common law and stuff. And so this one, you will trend. You will trend by the end of the week should you have favoritism on how or impartial, you are impartial in the way that you judge subject matters biblically and thingy. And so now this one is quite a very interesting one because it goes back to thingy. But this one tells you, I like this one, law number 16. I like it because it tells you that the Shabbat law had more to it. It had more to it than just going to church service. You see, it's one thing when the Lord tells you to rest. It's another thing when the Lord tells you to let your workers rest. Think about that. Because they might not be, they might not be observing the faith, right? They might not be of the Judaic faith, but you are supposed to let them rest. And so this tells you that the law of Shabbat was actually about more than that. It was more about God teaching us to rest as humans, we can overwork ourselves. You don't even need slavery. You can overwork yourself completely to a point where you just drop dead. And so this one here in Exodus 23:12, it actually, I think I should go to this one. Where is that? Okay, let's 23 verse 12. All right. So it is 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the 7th thou shalt rest. That thine oxen, so this tells you this was more than thinking, that thine oxen, thine than ass, than sons and handmaidens, strangers may be refreshed. It was more than going to service. This was about sitting, doing absolutely nothing. You were not even going to service. You were literally just sitting and doing nothing. Let the body rest completely. So this one tells you that this particular law was more than just a rest. Okay, so it was a mandate because the body needed it. Now, Exodus 23 then goes an inch further. Oh, the metropolis would not like this one. Law number 17. Law number 17, guys. Metropolis would not like this one. Metropolis will not like this one. You are not to get involved or in any form of bribery. Greetings, leadership. Wonderful seeing you, Ernest. It is very so now, Bazalani, notice that these are all laws that are written within the fabrics of our community, either from a common law perspective, general law, which is the country's law, or international law. It's written all worldwide. If somebody got bribed, it means someone is being treated unfairly. Someone is going to go to court and be judged on the basis that you bribed someone so that the case may go your direction. So you see, the judgment there is not. And so this one, it's very, are you going to go to court and are you going to go to church and preach that? You see, that's why that's why we said the law is one unit. You can't break it up. When they break up the law, it shows how disingenuous they are handling the word of God. The Bible says we are not to deal with the word of God unjustly. Okay? The Bible is very clear on that. And so when they do that, it tells you that there's something wrong somewhere. They break it up because they do not like the fact that it does not completely line with what they might be saying. Now, law number 18. Law number 18, an obligation to keep the religious festival. Remember, there was a traveling journey thing that you had to do in order for you to keeping the thing. So it needed to be well phrased that during this period, we are all going to think. So now it fascinates me that people, you see this one, it fascinates me with churches like Seventh-day Adventists, which want to keep the seventh day, but they don't keep the festivals. And can you remember, in this keeping the religious festival, I think this one must open it. Verse 14. Okay. It says, actually, let's start it from the previous one. That's why I think it hits proper. It says, verse 13, and in all things that I have said unto you, second parent, make mention of the name of any other gods, and neither let it be heard out of your mouth. Don't let anything come out of your mouth that is contrary. 3 times thou shalt keep, okay, a feast unto me in the year. This is something you are supposed to do, okay? So just the same way you want to keep the 7th, you were supposed to keep the feast. Same people who will tell us, because you can see there it goes on. Listen to verse number 15. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread, and thou shalt eat the unleavened bread on the seventh on the 7 days of the unleavened bread, 7 days. Okay, so it was very particular, all throughout that particular period. Not just the 7, but also keep it all the way for the 7, to show the perfection of man. You need 7. You need all 7. Can't be excellent on one day, just in case you are missing it. The bread, you see the bread was supposed to be eaten for the 7 days. Let's come to Christ. How does that fit? Your doctrine must be clear for all 7 days, unleavened. You see how it translates from what you see in there written into how it translates into what we have in the Messiah. This one we are very clear. You can't be truthful on one day and not be truthful on all the other days. You can go further down with it, actually, verse number right here. And the feast of harvest and the fruits of thy labor, the fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of in gathering, which is in the year, in the end of the year. So can't be gathering one. Okay, there is a whole list of things that they're not doing. As I mentioned on the previous one, that being selective about the law, it actually shows how blind you are to the law. You don't realize, break one, you've broken all. Right. And so right there, very clear stated, you must keep the feasts. And so, but notice what, when you go into those feasts, you see how those feasts are embedded directly with the Messiah's doctrine. Be unleavened for all 7. Can't just be one day. Right. Let's go on to number 19. Number 19. Now, number 19 sounds like the previous one when we spoke about protection of property. But there's something there that actually tells you that it's adding an element of awareness. This is how serious it is. If you were to think of communism, this is why we are not communist. It's a biblical thing, you understand? Yes. By notice, under communism, the government owns. Under the system that God gives, which is capitalist, you own. You've worked for it, you own it. And so you have the right of that ownership. Okay? Preservation of the land. Now, this here actually does also cover aspects of which we talked about when I said borders. Okay? This is very important. As a matter of fact, when you read in Revelation, the Bible talks about a judgment that's going to be let out for people that were destructive towards the land. There's a very particular verse. I don't know if you've seen that verse. And so you are there, hazardous, you are a war maker, all those people that get involved in all that kind of jazz. Yeah, there's a judgment for that. And thinking, but we could go all throughout. But the particular thingy, I think, let me just quote it for you. 23:10. Let's quote it right here. 23:10 right there. And we'll start it from 9. Okay, no, 10 to 11. And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and thou gather in the fruit therein. And then it says, but the 7th year, which is again goes back, if you're going to give yourself the Shabbat day, the land needed Shabbat as well. They must tell you when they are keeping this one. Okay, the message is Christ. Stop preaching things that you were not told. But the 7th year, thou shalt let it rest and lie still. Do not interfere. That the poor of thy people may eat, and may what they leave the beasts also should also partake in that one in likewise as well. And so you can see how diverse your rest actually involves how creation will interact with the rest of the world. It's not just one. Okay. So that also gives that idea of protection of animals. In case you are not reading it. The law is written. These things are written in the fabric of our community. That's why we have SPCA. If you were busy mistreating animals, they will come there, they will arrest you. Literally tells you they protect your animals, they have protection, they are not to be misused or overused. Did you see that part? Yes, the SPCA is the SPCA is written right there. You don't need to go back into the law and say, so the Bible says we must not mistreat. No, the very idea that you have SPCA will tell you that you cannot do such a thing. Moving on, let's show without a reasonable, so that they will know that when we say these things is inoperative, when we say the law is inoperative, what do we mean? We mean that these things we are already practicing. So what are you telling me? You are echoing something that the choir is already involved in. We are observing these things. And if we don't, there is consequences, as we have shown. Mistreatment of workers and all these things. Law number 20, prohibition against adultery, particularly. Now, this one it will not be thinking. It's only the diabolic kind that they will go against. Okay. Now, this one, it's a common law. This is more within the community. It's not something that's going to be enforced up there. Now, nowadays, you do see ways that it is coming into law, like with organizations such as the CRL and whatnot. They try to regulate mistreatment within that particular space where people are involved in idol worship of the leader or so forth, and there is misbehavior happening. That's where you can see that the countries are now getting involved at that level. Now, this one, I do think it's quite an interesting one as well. Number 21, right? They must have no excuse. They must tell us when are they going to be preaching these aspects. But as we are showing why, the message for the church is Christ, not the law. Because these things we are covered. The law covers this thing. I don't need to be preaching this. Requirement of witnesses, right? Now, that's Exodus 23, verse 1. So if we go to 23, verse 1, there, what does it say? Thou shalt not raise a false report, or put not thine hand, so involvement. So don't sabotage. The Bible literally goes back there. Now, you will know this even if you know the law has something called what is it called, after effect or what? I can't remember. If someone does a crime and you get involved, I forgot what it's called. If you remember, please type it down in the comment section. And so this particular one right here, not just a thingy, but it also speaks to that. If you were to go and plant evidence that is false, that's what it says. Don't put your hands with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Notice that. don't go there lying about things that are not there and planting evidence and stuff like that. And so that is very clear. I forgot what it's called. When a person gets after is it called after effect or what? If someone does something wrong and then when you hide, I know they have defeating the ends of justice. That's one charge that they can put, because you try to mislead evidence and stuff like that. And so you can see the law covers that. And they won't say. When we say the law is inoperative, what do we mean? We mean there you go. All of it is covered within our common law. It's covered common law, general law. Some all the way to international law. Okay, that's law number 21. Law number 22. This one. This one. This one is not just written in thingy. This one, Jesus even made an extension to it. Law number 22. Law number 22. Am I in 22? Yes. Law number 22. Read it yourself. Fair treatment of your enemies. Hey, Jesus. Now, woo, Jesus. Think about it. People are going to church and they are being told, kill your enemy. Yeah. Back to sender. They'll never come to this one. They'll never come to this one. You are not told to do that. Even in the Old Testament, you're not told to do that. 23, verse number 5, 4 and 5. 4 and 5. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. You owe it out. Your character must be intact. Your character must be intact. Now, this here, it covers a lot of things, but this is more common law. You can actually think of, you think of it. It's more common law. It's more common law than general law. It's not like in the law system that they're going to be telling you, if you see something going wrong, you don't owe it thing. But there are ways in which the law system, notice, there are ways in which the law system can hold you accountable. Should you see something wrong going on somewhere and you decide not to report it, they can hold you accountable. Do you get me? There are ways in which that they can do that. And so there was this advert which used to say, not reporting a crime is actually endorsing it and stuff like that. Those type of things that they would say. And so if you saw a crime happening and then you turn the blind eye, you can be there. I just forgot what they call it. But if you saw something wrong, happening, and then you did thing, you just turned your blind eye, they can, So it's not just common law. There is aspects of it that go towards general law. You can actually think of it. We want them to have no excuse. We want them to have no excuse whatsoever. When the next time they open their mouth saying that they want to preach the law, they must know we have told them. I want to just go and look at this first. Did I write the right one here? Wait, 22. Okay, let me go back to 22. I'm not sure about 23. I'm not sure about 23. I just want to make sure. Is it the one? 23:5. 23:5. Man cause. Initial. Okay, this is more common law. Yeah, this is more common law. So basically, I wanted to just make sure. I was not sure if I had repeated this point. I just wrote it. I labeled it wrongly. Okay, so this is law number. What is it? Law number 23. Law number 23. Law 23. Not just 10. Yeah, they love 10 commandments. No, showing that the rest of the laws are literally embedded into things. Responsibility to others. Okay? Responsibility to others. This is more common law, as I stated. This is more common law than thingy. Now, the reason why I wanted to check it is because I was thinking that I had actually written it before. Now it says verse number 5, right? 22. We are on 22, verse number 5, and it says, if a man shall cause a field or a vineyard to be eaten, and shall put his beast. So it's not him that's eating, it is his beast. So if you think about this, and okay, let me just finish it. And shall feed his shall feed in another man's field, and the best of his own, and of the best of his own vineyard he shall make a restitution. So here there's an element here that actually adds. Yeah, I was just thinking maybe I read this before. Yes, I read it, but then this particular aspect of you have a responsibility to others as a whole. Okay, so here, yes, we spoke about the protection of property, but then there is also this part here. You have a responsibility towards the other person. Okay, you have a responsibility towards the other person. And so now, if you think about it, if you think about this particular law, if you go into the workplace, that's why I said it's more common law and also general law. If you go to CCMA, let's show that these things are really in our fabric of our thing. If you go to CCMA, something went wrong to your co-workers' area of work, and you were there and you decided to turn a blind eye, as if no, that's not my area of work. They can say yes, your duties are particularly to the till, and your duties are not in the thingy, but then your workplace as a whole is affected, and so they can use that to justify why you were fired. So in case when you decide to go and complain, they can use that to say, because an area of your work which you are not designated to is burning, or it has an issue, and you decided not to hold yourself responsible to that, you can. So this responsibility just does not reside with you, it also affects others. So this is written within the general, in general, in our thing. Now this one, actually, this responsibility, let me extend it as a matter of fact. When we say a child is raised by a village, you see that count. Yeah, here is that if I see kids within my area of residence misbehaving, they are not my kids, but I owe it to my neighbor to correct the kid. Yeah, it's difficult nowadays. Nowadays they would say you'd rather keep your mind your own business. They would rather say that, but it's not a bad thing to hold yourself responsible, saying this child, it could have been my child. Someone might see my child and correct them. Why don't I, extending a thing. So having an eye towards another person. So this one here, you can directly see it within our living situation. You might not have donkeys that you are watching, but you have assets that you are watching that actually do address an environment in which you are in. So responsibility towards others there is addressed. Law number 20. This one is very much written international law. This is international law right here. Okay. Greetings, Ricky. Leadershiping. How far art thou? Oh my goodness. Bio codes, bless those them that curse you, and pray for others that despise you, that despitefully use you. And nowhere does it say back to sender. Exactly. It puts us at have others as priority. So if you have others in priority, you will not be sending back to sender, because nobody deserves that. Okay, if they send it to me, it goes null and void. It doesn't hit me, neither should it go back to them. Exactly. So it's very much thinking, oh guys, this one, when I saw this one, I was like, yeah, no, this is really the Bible, if they say the Bible does not address current current work environment, this one does here. This is law number 24. It's in Exodus 21. It's in Exodus 21. Let me go to it. I want to read it so we can tackle it. 33 to 34. 33 to 34. Current work environment. All right. So 33 up until 34. And it says, if a man shall open a pit. So if you go and you open a pit, and if a man shall dig a pit or and not cover it, and an oxen or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. And so basically, you umthwalo ofile wakho you must restore. So if you did something that led to someone's thingy, negligence, they call it negligence. This one is not just general law, it's actually international law. This describes work environment basically. So if you did something within the work environment that was that disregarded another person, work safety wise, you owe it to restore and fix up what you messed up. That's addressed within common law. But this is part of the 600 laws. Okay, moving on. We don't want to thingy. We just want to show, apart from the 10 ones that they like, the law as a whole is addressed within our common law, general law, and international law. Okay, now, hey, this one, bazalwane, this one, hey, this one, this one you will never fix. Law number 24, 25, my bad. This one, law number 25. Responsibility for borrowed property. So if you took someone's thingy, the Bible literally has a law that tells you are responsible. So just the same way I spoke about that thing, if something was borrowed to you and you lost it, you remember that verse? Yeah. And so that's Exodus number 14 thingy. You remember the verse? I read it a little bit earlier on. But this responsibility, these are very common things. Common law and general law. You will literally be put in charge of negligence. Negligence. Okay, it's addressed within our thingy. Now, law number 26. Yeah, but hey, they don't like that one. The responsibility for thinking, nah, they don't like that one. It's like a person borrows money. They'll tell you, hey, I'll see you next year. I'll see you next week. Oh, Jesus, next year never comes. Do diligence in thinking. Now, 21, this one I have to go back to. I have to go to 21 verse 29. 21 verse 29 to 30. But if the ox when what am I reading? Now my eyes are now twisted up. If the ox won't be put with his on, and in his time past, and it has been testified to his owner, and he has not kept it, he had not kept him in, but has that he has killed a woman or a man or a woman, so an animal. Let's say maybe you own an animal and your animal goes and does what jazz outside. This one is very much general law. Okay, it's not just this one. There is laws in the state on this one, and the oxen shall be stoned, and his owner shall also be put to death. So this one, of course, the ending of that law, we don't see it that way. But remember, we have jails nowadays. Né? Then they didn't have jails. There was no way where they're gonna keep you, and so we do have ways of resolving this one. If your animal goes outside and it causes issues, or it bites someone, the SPCA will not just come and kill that animal. They will charge you. You will be charged with an offense of negligence. Yeah, you'll be charged with thingy of negligence. The animal will be put down, and you will be charged with negligence. So that's pretty much it. It's written there. It's in the Bible. You are yo Jesus. Now, remember on the first one, we were more on what was that? Was that 25? Yeah, on 25 we spoke about your responsibility towards borrowed property in particular. But then in 27, we extend that law. Okay, we extend that a little bit more. And how do we extend it? You will see here. Please do like the video. Yo, Jesus. The body is getting tired. All right. Let's do. Let's do. Do like the video. It will help it to reach other people as well. Right. And so number 27 here. So the previous one was to borrow property. And on this one, the protection of the lender. So the person that borrows you money has the Bible does protect in 22, 25 to 26. Okay. So the person who is the creditor is protected for the debt. Now, nowadays, we also have insurance companies that actually insure this kind of things and all that kind of jazz and stuff. But it's quite an interesting one that the Bible has law. As part of the 613 laws, it has this law that protects the person who borrows you money. You will notice that there's a lot of these laws are very much about human interactions. Azalan, this is the thing that I want you to learn out of this study. Ne? This is the thing that I want you to learn out of this study is that there is a lot of people that are very ignorant of this. They are fine with just hammering your head about the 10 Commandments. And they don't even realize when you say these laws are ingrained in our everyday life, they dismiss it. This is why we are doing this study, so that they can see the message does not make sense. These things are ingrained into our society. Not just the 10, the 600 laws. They are ingrained within our culture. In some part of it, it's there. So they will choose the one that they find. You see, so they hammer you on the 7th day. Because the 7th day, they know they can get. But the Bible hammers them back. But they will never answer to that one. They will never hammer. Why? Because they are looking for areas by which they can accuse you. They are accusers of the brethren more than the message is Christ. Learn that. The message is not the law. That's the thing that I want you to see here. And the whole study, the one thing that I want you to spot is that all these laws are ingrained into our culture. The one who borrows you money was protected. The law actually protected them for thingy. Okay. Now, last time we also spoke about protection of assets. Okay. Law number 27, law number 28 extends that a little bit. Okay. Law number 28 extends that a little bit here, and it extends it where? It extends it into private property. It doesn't just protection of property in general, the Bible is not vague. The Bible goes directly. And so it goes straight again. The same way it says minority groups in the previous one. Of course, it doesn't put it like that. It just says it labels the people there, but then it goes in and says these particular people, the strangers, the widows, the what. It doesn't just generalize. It hits straight on. And so 22:7 and to 15 speaks to the private property particularly. When I say this is my phone, the Bible recognizes that. This is my iPhone. No, it's not my iPhone. This is a Vivo. And so the Bible extends all the way into that. And so it's very important we know that they don't understand these things. I doubt they understand that the Bible covers these things. The things that the Bible is covering. Our society as a whole covers these things. It sees them for what they are thinking. Now, your number 29, Vazalani. This is in business dealings. This is in business dealing. It's how people interact in honesty. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. And yeah, part of the outside. Notice something here. The law was not just about worship. The law was about human interactions. This is very important. God cares about how we treat each other and how we behave amongst each other. That's why we call out charlatans. Number 29. That's number 29. We're almost there. Almost done. Number 29 speaks about the responsibility in business. Now, honesty in business. My bad. Honesty in business. So that's 20 what? That's 23, right? 23 verse number 10. 23 verse number 10. Let's go there. Notice then it says 23 number 10. All right, and says, thou shalt not oppress the stranger, for you know the heart of the stranger. And it says that seeing that you were strangers in Egypt as well. So the laws given to Israel here, because it identifies their experience. It says 6 years, 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and thou shalt gather in the fruit therein. Okay, now notice there was of course you only see, you're only seeing it talking about how long to farm or how long to think it. But the other part of it is that there was an aspect where you had to have a perception of enough. And you remember that the Bible actually, when the Israelites were still in the wilderness, there was a period where they wanted to keep more than God had given. And when they kept it, it turned into worms by the next day. God wants us honest in how we deal. And so even in this verse here, you're saying, even if you are in your business there and you must determine, don't allow greed to extend. Like don't become like Carnegie. Carnegie, the businessman, was it in oil and whatnot? The guy would rather destroy competition than have competition exist, so that he can thrive and be the only one that makes things expensive or makes things cheap or whatever. It's because of this perception of dealing wrongly in business and stuff. The Bible talks about that. You have enough. There must come to a point where you have enough. You've gathered and be done. And then it goes on there. It says, let the rest thingy. Actually, if you read the rest of that verse. So it's not just, I know when we read it, we are reading land. So in our land, yes. Where do you get business, Ricky? It's written business in the fact that this is their business. Their business was working the land. And then he says, let it rest so that the beast also can have their food. Okay. And so right there, honesty in dealing in business, and also come to a point of not being greedy. Next point, law number 30. Law number 30. Now, this goes back into law number 30. Now, you'll remember last we spoke about the state of work environment. In law number 30, it goes back there, but it emphasizes an extension on the environment of work. So number 12, actually number 12. And so you'll remember that there's something there that we want to conditions, right? So 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the seventh day thou shalt rest, and that thine ass and thine oxen and eggs may rest, and the son, thy son, the son and the handmaid, the stranger will be refreshed. So this particular aspect here, preferring other people, it's a very important one. So the Bible doesn't just talk. So a lot of times when we think about the 600 laws, we think about us towards God. We don't think the law is very much about human interaction. The law was very much about human interaction. That's why they miss it when, because if you think about it, discipleship is where? Discipleship is in human interactions. Because you see, the interactions you have with people will corrupt you. And so there it is right there. All right. And so the state in which one actually works in. And so that's addressed within our normal common law nowadays. Okay. Labor laws. That's why we have labor laws. Labor laws address this very thing. People can't work tirelessly. As a matter of fact, they are obligated to have leave after so and so. They will have off days and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, in some countries, in Israel, actually, yes. In Israel, you'll remember I was interviewing, what's his name? I never posted that interview. My goodness. I completely forgot. I was interviewing Ekonaba. Ekonaba, he stays in Israel with his wife. And he was talking about what happens on the Shabbat is that if you actually call your workers to work on Sabbath, you can call them, but they must not just be extra you pay. You must actually pay them way more than you actually think, because you are not supposed. So that's a penalty. The penalty is that you are obligated to pay them way more. So we have work condition laws that actually protect. We call them labor laws, which were from the Bible. So the Bible, what the Bible covers, the laws that the Bible covers about work environment, guess what? It's covered within general law. It's covered by general law, because general law tells you the CCMA, the labor laws, all those things. They will tell you your workers must have off days, they must have thingy, they must have time to refresh, they must have break. A break is actually part of the work thingy. You can't have people just working thingy an entire day. So this one, actually, I thought let's add it in there, because it actually does bring a thingy. Now, number 31, law number 31. Law number 31 goes back into the stranger. Law number 31 goes back into the stranger because it deals with this aspect of society which holds itself too high. Discrimination, right? And so you'll remember in there, we spoke about the stranger and whatnot and stuff. But then now this goes into the treatment of those people. And so the Bible does this a lot. Okay, the Bible does this a lot, where it will label a thing and then it will extend it. Okay, you have Genesis chapter number 1, it will describe creation, and then in chapter 2, it goes into details about thingy. And so discrimination and anti-discriminatory laws are there. Those are covered within general law. It's covered within general law. There are organizations of human rights and all those kind of stuff that actually deal with that type of a thing. Okay? And so that one, we are covered. Number 32. Number 32. Number 32 goes back into the court system again, right? Number 32 deals with the court system, but there is also an additional thingy. And so number 32 deals with the court system, and it talks about neutrality. So remember, on the last one, we spoke about being impartial. And so not taking sides or not taking judgment towards one side. Now, being neutral. And so that's another one. And so stand back and let the system itself make its judgments on what must be ruled going forward. Okay. And not being biased, basically. Okay. And so, unfortunately, this one is a very difficult one. That's why in the Bible you had judges. You know, even when King James was actually commissioning the writing of the King James Bible, he had several men, and they were grouped in groups, in 7 groups, in groups of 7. And so this was to, when they were reading, they would read a portion, and the next group will take on that portion, and the group read that portion, and they correlate it to the Hebrew, the Greek, and then will agree on the wording that was being used. It was a very long process. They took 7 years to do that. Took 7 years. And one of the criteria was that there was no preference towards a denomination. That's why the King James Bible is such a good thing. The other versions, yeah. The King James is very good because there was no preference to a certain church doctrine. He took bishops and from different congregations and put them in one place. So one could not prioritize his church theology. They only had the Bible to think it. And so, hey, Jesus, I need to remove this thing. Next to the camera, I put my focus thing puller there. I noticed it in the videos that I did today. I kept looking at it in the videos because it's taking attention. Hey, so I see now I'm looking at it again. Hey, Rick. All right, and so that's another area of thinking. Now, work. What about work? Law number 33 goes into subject matters of work. So you'll notice here the theme again, as I stated, it's about human interactions. God prioritizes human interactions. Protection of livelihood. Okay, you have a right to be able to sustain yourself. I love the Twilight Zone. You guys might have heard me. The Twilight Zone is a TV show from the 1950s. There's an episode inside there where they talk about this element where livelihood is being taken away from them in preference of machine working and stuff like that. The Bible had protection rules over your livelihood. And so, and let's say, for instance, with all this AI technology, it's in situations like that where I have a right to make a living. So computers must pause. You can't be hiring computers that are working for you and then me, I must be jobless, And so the protection of livelihood is actually spoken of right there. So, and then this takes us to number 34. Number 34, this is very much written within our general law and international law, actually. Like, that's why if a celebrity makes a statement, they will be asked to retract it. Discrimination, defamation, my bad. So basically, if you spoke falsely about an organization or an individual, they will call you to say, hey chief, here. And so within modern common law, this is very much well established. And so it's not something you can go and preach about. It's not something you can go and preach about. So which tells you what common law covers the aspects of defamation, as you might actually call it. Now, this one here, number 35, I would actually just label it here, but we did actually talk about it, even though I did not have the reference directly. I was talking about the work environment of animals, but in 35, it actually emphasizes the welfare of animals. You will see there are many laws in the Bible that actually talk about if an animal died in this situation, it must be restored and whatnot and stuff like that. There is a very high value for that as well. And so SPCA, that's SPCA. And so you'll notice this thing. There's a lot about human interactions. We are almost done. In a few minutes we'll be done. And law number 36 is a very interesting one, honestly speaking. You would think this is actually a modern law. It's not actually a modern law. When I saw this one, I'm very much shocked. Protection over intellectual property, copyright. Yeah, that's not a new thing. That's not a new thing, man. That's not a new thing. Oh my. 2210. 2210. That's not a new thing. Imagine that. 2210, you have a right to the things that you own, right? All the way towards 30 must. Towards now, verse number 15. All right. So what you own, right? And so you'll remember if it be torn into pieces, and then let him bring it for witness. And so that thing that you own, and you have proof that it's completely torn, it's completely destroyed. You bring it, okay? It is yours. You bring that thing, and then it says, "May if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, it be hurt and die, the owner therefore being not with it, he shall surely make it good." So basically must make good for it. He must pay it back. But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good, if it be an hired thing. It came for his hire. So if he's describing, like the way he's describing it, so he's saying if it's a particular item that is in his possession, or if it's something that's not in his possession, that's literally intellect. You can literally put that as intellectual property right there. And so if I made a video like this, I own the intellectual property of the video. But of course, my videos are public domain, so you can go and download them and use them anyhow. And so if it is something that is with me, and so that idea of someone creating something that is intellectual property that they own particularly, it quite interesting how you can literally build the fabrics of the laws system that we have out there, out of things. I'm just showing that the Bible, the way the Bible phrases this thing, actually can be seen in that light. Now, this one is quite an interesting one, I must say. I did not expect this one. I did not expect law number 37, man. I did not expect law number 37. Y'all should take the time to read these things, man. From 19 up until 20, actually the entire Exodus, actually. You can't, I know we do. And then this one, yeah, you should go read that because there is a lot that says there. Now, there is this thing called insider trading, right? When a person uses information from inside in order to enrich himself. Now, law number 37, okay, now remember, I'm labeling them law number 37. So, law number 37 in Exodus 23, this is quite an interesting one, man. This is an interesting one as I was thinking further into it after my study with Tamar. Verse number 8. So 33, wait, is 23, my bad. 23 verse 8. 23 verse 8. For thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise and preventeth the word of a righteous. So right here you can see as people who go on to use insider information, the idea of insider information right there, you can literally build that out of that. And so because someone is taking information from things, so that's why within the financial systems there is this idea that if you found to have used information in order to enrich yourself, they will like, for instance, if you got e-tender from a friend, that can be a criminal offense. You can end up yourself in jail. Notice, these laws are written within the fabric. So do not take a bribe that will allow you to close your eyes and make it look like, oh, no, you know what? I don't have information or anything like that. And no, you knew that there was things. So it blindeth the wise. And so do not take such a thing. So yes, it talks about bribe, but also within the system in which, like financial system. There was a verse that we were reading. Was it in chapter 20? My bad, man. Where is this thing? Answer send it to me. 23:16. Okay, 24:16. My bad. How did I forget this one? I forgot to write this one. Okay, this is going to be a bonus. Okay, this is a bonus. This is a bonus. So it's actually 43, you could say. So in chapter number 23, there is something that I want you guys to realize, to see here. Verse 20, I'm just remembering that I asked someone to send me this verse while we were reading. Verse number 16 there. Very interesting. And the Lord, and the glory of the Lord had abandoned upon the Mount Zion, and the cloud covered it for 6 days, and 7 days, and on the 7th day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And so now this is during the period when he was being given these laws. And so you see there that the Bible does say Moses was there for 6 days and God spoke on the 7th day. That's a very interesting one there, because it's interesting because that's when you realize the law given on the 7th day. Hello. Are you getting ideas here? They were given on the 7th to illustrate something quite interesting. Actually, there was another one that I noted. I just forgot it. I completely forgot it, about insurance. That actually show you the idea of insurance and stuff, like insurance laws and all these things that you see within companies that insure people and stuff like that. But anyways, I just thought that was quite an interesting one. But I'll come back to this one of the law being given on the 7th day, right? Just in a second. So 38, 38, Yeah, this speaks to people that cannot control themselves. So just outrage in general. And so we have laws that thing, you have things like manslaughter. You'll have laws that actually talk about manslaughter. So hostile acts, like when a person is just completely loses themselves. And so that's covered within our general law in general. Like they will persecute you in a particular space there. Number 30, number 39. I don't have to explain that further. Hostile acts is very clear. It's not violent. No. Hostile. A person can be hostile and not be and not appear thing, right? It's just disregard of other people. Number 39, transparency. This one is very important, but also you'll remember even into the ones that we're speaking about where you were highlighting subjects. This is in Exodus 22, 7 to 15. When you speak about if you saw your neighbor's thingy fallen into thing, you must redeem it and then take it to him. And so, yes, he is not a friend to you, but you owe it to them to do right by them. Okay. And so that there actually gives that particular thing. And also remember, there was the law that we spoke about that speaks about the property borrowed, right? And then there was the other one that we spoke about that was addressing that addressed the debtor, right? The person who you owe, that you they are protected and you must pay them back. Now we go back to that because there is now another extension which now speaks to the treatment, fair treatment of debtors. Okay, and so you are not just, you don't just owe it to pay them back. Fair treatment. Okay, a person that treats, now a person borrows you money, now you now become hostile towards them. No, why are you pretending as if I'm not going to pay you? But you know what you're doing. You're trying to guilt trip them so that they don't collect their debt. And so fair treatment, you can see in that it actually does address that. Okay, we are at our 2-hour mark. We are going to close it off here. Now, I'm gonna go back again to the one of the environment, because 41 goes back there. Now in 41 it speaks about conservation, like you have a duty to keeping it, right? And this speaks also to that thing that I spoke about in Revelation. It speaks about let me show you that, man. I think I should show you that instead of just telling y'all. I will show you. Jar. Let me show you this verse. Let me show you this verse. That the Bible does speak about judgment for people that. Is it this verse? Is it this verse? Is it 11:20? Yes, chapter number 11. Yes, let me just show you this verse, man. Revelation, because someone might think, Ricky, what are you talking about? Because I referenced it earlier on, but I didn't actually quote it. You guys might be tired. Yeah, even me, my neck now is now like Ricky. It's like Ricky, my neck is now completely loose. Revelation chapter number 11. The things I don't want to cut these studies into two. Next week we want to deal with something else. Revelation chapter number 11, verse number 18. It says, and the nations were angry, and they wrath, and the wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged. Okay, so this is at the end. Okay, so this is talking about that period when people, the judgment is resting upon them now, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and also and to the saints. You remember this thing, Vasalan. Notice, believers get reward. We've talked about that several times. People want to believe what they want to believe. It's fine. And so it says that thou should believe, thou should give reward unto the prophets and to the saints. And then notice what it goes on to say, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and should destroy them that destroy the earth. You see that part? I never forget that verse. Like in my entire, I might forget where it is, but I never forget it. For the first time I saw this verse, I remember it was in 2011 when I saw it for the first time. And the guy was talking about war, and it was like people that are doing war and all these things, they are a destruction to the earth. And so God has a judgment for that. Okay, so if in case you wanted to see, Ricky, what verse are you talking about? That's the verse right there. All right, so environment conservation, and so allowing the land to rest, whatnot, all those things, and being a responsible citizen, the Bible does tell us to do that rightly. Right. And so we are almost there. Number 42. Okay, this is the last one. Number 42. Number 42 goes back into the treatment of the body. The body should not just take anything, he says. All right. And so if you actually open that, that's 22. And so, yeah, okay. The previous one that I was talking about, conservation of the earth and whatnot in environment, there are environmental laws that will actually follow you up if you are actually, like, if you have companies like Shell companies and all these companies, they'll go to Nigeria, spill their oil all over the place and not care where it goes. They'll be fined. You'll hear them being fined, hectic fines and stuff like that. So there are laws now that actually govern that. And so that tells you, what are you going to preach about? Because there are laws that now cover that. Okay. So this last one here, 22, 31. And it says, and you shall be holy men unto me, neither shall you eat any flesh that is torn of a beast into the field. Now, notice here, he shall cast it unto the dogs. Now, this here talks about the health of the food we eat. So these laws are implemented nowadays. These are completely implemented. You don't even need to tell someone not to eat food that is thingy. As a matter of fact, you will trend. Should people find out that they are eating food that's not properly processed or that's not done well or what, and all that kind of stuff. And so now there are laws on the standard. That's why we have the FDA, right? That's why we have halal, the companies that watch over the quality of food. So, Bazalani, the thing that I wanted you guys to note today, I know it was a long study, but it's very necessary. We show these things, The goal was to show the laws. Majority of these laws are covered within our the majority of the laws that we have within the 600 laws. They are pretty much covered by a lot of laws within our general laws, like the country's laws and all that kind of stuff. They cover a lot of these laws. And so that tells you something. Get the message. The message says that's not the message of the church. A lot of these are common law. These are the things that people will be judged by, of how dubious they were while they were in the world. They mistreated their workers, they what, all these things, because they are not saved, right? So that's the first thing that he goes back to. You mistreated people like this, you treated people like this, you were like, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's not the message of the church. The message of the church is Christ. The message of the church is centered around Christ. A lot of these laws are covered by these laws because these have become common laws. We agree witchcraft is bad. We agree that the law is. We agree treat the workers fairly. We agree that people that are debtors should be treated. We agree on everybody being treated fairly. A majority of these laws. I'm not done. We're gonna go into another subject now. Today, I just wanted to show one area of some of the laws that you see that actually cover. Now, today we only covered how many chapters? And I didn't even do 32, 42. Is it 42? 20, 24 properly. We only did a majority of 30, 20, 19, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 chapters on Exodus. We only did these particular ones. And so we came up with so many of the laws that come from the 600. So if you're wondering how do you see the 600 laws, this is how. This is how. You can see how these laws are implemented with all these other fabrics of our society. And so people just don't understand these things. They think we are talking wishy-washy by saying, no, the message of the church is the cross. Christ resurrected, dead, resurrected. Forgiveness has been given. He is knocking. Are you hearing? Come to the cross. That's the message of the church. When you hear people now come here, they want to tell us to keep the law. No, you are preaching your own message. Clear. Why am I preaching what the world knows very well? Don't cheat on your wife. They know that very well. So what are you telling them? They know that very well. You see how they drag people who cheat on that. They will drag you. They'll drag you on social media. They'll drag you. So your message is not different. People that steal, you see how they trend. Government, right now we're talking about elections towards listen to how people talk about the ANC. They're dragging them. They'll be dragging them. Why? We are clear on thief behavior. So what's your message? Why is your message any different? So within common law and general law, they already understand that, and international law as well. They already understand these standards. The message of the church is Christ. So you're careful when you hear people that just preach law. Why? Because they don't understand. They haven't seen the gospel. The gospel is our center. You're creating your other messages. The thing that I wanted to show today, notice they don't mind just dismissing everything and saying, they'll hang on the Shabbat. They'll never read the other ones. They want to, like I said last time, favoritism. The Bible is against that, because you want to favor one particular law because we don't comply. You see, that's the only thing that they can hit us on. We don't comply with Saturday law. We're an accuser of the brethren, Satan Diwa. You might be a devil worshiper. You might want to ask yourself, why are you so bent on telling us you are wrong, you are wrong, you're wrong? And then it's about what? Just 24-hour period. They have nothing else to call us out on. No. They keep making blank accusations. You are associated with Rome. Where? And so the thing that I wanted to show here is that, be very careful with people that just preach the law, because it's very clear that these aspects of the laws they're very general things. These are very general things. You can see how the work environment, the work thingy, and dude. But anyways, we've done the study. They will not dare do the study. It's like claiming whatever they claim. They say, as a land, I'm in the cartel. My head, my neck is tired. I think the issue is that we went from studying. Normally when I'm reading, if I'm reading, I tend to actually take a nap first. before we do the live. So I write out the notes, what, and then take a nap, then get up. So now we went straight from reading, and then I had to compile the thingy from reading, and then so that's why my neck is tired. So thank you guys. It's Ricky. I will see you on then later on. I'll see you next week. We'll further so that we perfectly understand when people are out here just claiming things. We have a well-rounded argument around it, and so I'm giving you the tools so that you can understand. When a person comes back to you and says, "Hey, Chief, you're not keeping this day," ask them these are the parts. Do they realize how general law covers these aspects of these other laws? But they're looking for an excuse of something to call you out on. So they pick that number 4. They abandon all 613 laws to hang on number 4. You're son of the devil. You're son of the devil. You serve your master Satan. Yeah, accusers of the brethren. There are people who don't have the Holy Spirit, Mazalan. We are dealing with some people. Some people don't have the Holy Spirit. Because if they had the Holy Spirit, they will be convicted that that's not the message of the gospel. The message of the gospel is Christ dead, resurrected. That's the center. Why are you emphasizing on Moses? I'm not a follower of Moses. I'm a follower of Christ. Satan. Some people piss you off because they are so stuck. They are so stuck. They so stuck. Sugar. They must go read. Guys, I'll see you later. Thank you very much. I'll have a good one.